Hi Janhvi, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. First of all, a huge congratulations on Gunjan Saxena. I think you were
Thank
amazing
you.
in the film. And
Thank you.
yeah, so playing a character like obviously Gunjan Saxena in your second feature film must have been a really big jump for you, and of course, a major responsibility. So, what did you gain from sort of the preparations that you made for the role? Because you transformed yourself into an Air Force pilot, right? So, how did you kind of, what have you learned from doing the film?
I've learned too many things. I think that on the surface level, I've learned how they hold a gun. I've learned how to march with a gun. I've learned how people in the Air Force used to salute before 2006, which is when it changed. I've learned march past. I've learned Dharma. I've done obstacle course training. Uh, yeah, I've learned technical lingo. I've learned how to fly a chopper.
Yeah.
But I think most of all, I have learned how to retain a positive outlook on life and to make everything I think about your hard work. And I think just to retain that purity of intention no matter what you do and no matter what the obstacles are.
Yes, and I think that's a very big lesson that we can all learn, especially because we've been hit by the pandemic. So I think definitely that's
Yes.
something we can all sort of learn from that as well. Um, I think one question that I've always wanted to kind of know, I mean, had the film obviously released in cinemas, how do you think the audience reaction would have been different had it obviously had a theatrical release?
I think that if it wasn't for the pandemic and it would have released, I would have still anticipated an extremely positive reaction. Um, and I think that, there would obviously be a quantification of that reaction
Yeah.
given, the box office numbers. There'd be a more tangible way to gauge the kind of reach that it's had and the kind of response that it's had, because it's all about a lot of it in this industry is about numbers. And I'm extremely overwhelmed by the love of the critics and the public and the fans and everyone. But that notion of box office is, I think, important for like a production house and an actor and the director. And I think that that would have been fun, because I think I would have still anticipated a good box office number.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think Dharak as well, your first feature film, did so well as well at the box office too. In fact,
Yeah.
that brings me to my next question, Janvi. You're still quite a fresh talent, and it's been, what, only a couple of years since you've been in the industry. So how successful do you think you've been in sort of creating your own identity and paving your own path in Bollywood so far?
I don't know. I don't think that's for me to say. I think that I don't know if I'm able to judge that. I definitely, at least from the little that I know of it, it's going to be a longer process than it would have been for most. But I know that I have something to offer and I have something to say. Um, with regards to my art. Uh, but I think that it will take time for people to kind of familiarize themselves with me being a different entity to my mom, and with me just, I don't think that I fall into a kind of conventional category. Like,
Yeah,
I don't see myself fitting into, and a couple of people have told me this, that there's,
there's a
I don't want to
difference.
sound like
Yeah.
I'm blowing my own
No,
trumpet,
no,
but
no,
you
no,
get
no,
what
no.
I
I get
mean,
what you
right?
mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
and this is what I was going to say actually, because you're portraying characters which are real, formidable, and independent as well, rather than sort of characters which are just glamorous and decorating the big screen so
Yeah, but
people.
I do want to do that too. I think that's fun to do. But yeah, like I said in the interview before this, I find it easier to do roles that are supported by great writing. I don't
Mm.
know if I'm at that level yet. Get a role that isn't that author backed and still make it memorable.
Right.
Um, I
Yeah.
think that that's a different art altogether to do.
No, and I think it's a gradual process, right? I'm sure you'll
Yeah.
definitely eventually get there. But I
Yeah.
think just coming back to that whole point that I made about you doing characters which are real, formidable, and independent, what sort of drives you to doing such characters? Is there a particular mindset that you have that sort of makes you to do these roles, or is it just something that naturally, instinctively you say yes to?
I think as an actor, when I read a script and I can't find like logic in like things that my character is doing, I think it automatically handicaps me and keeps me from delivering. So
Right.
like I said, it's just easier for me to do roles that have such strong characters and such with arcs that are so formidable, or they just make sense in my head. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I don't know if I can take a character that doesn't have that and then still make it work somehow. I think that I need to get there, which hopefully I will. Um,
Yeah,
but
for
yeah,
sure.
but I do get handicapped when I'm not like able to understand why my character is doing something, or if it's not making sense
Yeah.
on a writing level. I can't like it. I just freeze.
Yeah, I think when I speak with Kajol quite a few times as well, she often says that a good script is the real hero of any film or
Yeah,
any
a
sort of actor.
thousand percent.
So I can definitely sort of resonate with what you're trying to say there as well. But I was actually watching that panel discussion you had at Mami, and you kind of referenced Joker and mentioned that it really would be liberating to do roles which are brave and encourages female actors to be uninhibited. And I believe as well, often when we see like sort of female centric films, so to speak, in Bollywood, it's either really like dark or it's really like put on a
Yeah,
pedestal,
that
but
is.
it's almost like a Devi. There's no
Yeah,
balance of like
yeah.
a character being grey. So given what you said at the Mummy panel discussion, how do you hope to pursue these sort of characters which are grey, and what will be your approach in essaying them?
I just feel like nobody is. I don't think that anybody is a villain in their own head, and the way that sometimes like you portray characters, I think in our films as well, I understand why they do that, is a kind of simplified approach um, for audiences um, to understand it or to relate to it better. I think that we put a lot of value on simplicity. I don't know if we're at that stage yet where we can afford to delve into like gray characters. I don't know if many people have ventured into that yet in our films, but it definitely excites me because I don't think that there's any such thing as a black and white person.
Mm. Mm.
Everyone is gray. Like you, 1,000% have been a villain in someone's life and been a saint in someone else's, and like in your head, you're never the bad person.
Yeah.
So how cool would it be to play someone who's just in everyone's eyes the worst human ever, but really like you have your own needs and like everything in your head is justified and you're doing it for the betterment of something. So I think that that's just such an interesting um, outlook on it. And I think that that's what he did with the Joker. Everything was justified. Like you kind of root for him even though he's basically a villain. Um,
Yeah, it's
so
true
I just
actually.
kind of thought that that was a cool thing to explore.
I believe so as well. And you know what I think is also important is like when we talk about feminism as well, so to speak, I think there's often the link of it being empowering, which is fair and equal. So what does feminism mean to you, Janvi? And how well do you think this definition is adapted into the current works that we're seeing in the Hindi film industry?
Uh, I think that more and more people are paying attention to it, but I think feminism for me is obviously it means equality. It also means getting to a place in society and in this world where we don't need a term like feminism anymore, where it's
Mm,
just an unsaid thing, where it's just like obvious and logical that we have equal opportunity and equal mindsets and equal outlooks. And um, I think that that's where we need to get. I think it definitely means equality. It means freedom, and I don't just mean from external factors. I think from yourself. I think that a lot of times we're caged in our own conditioning of what we as women can and can't do. And I think it
mm,
starts at a very foundational level. It's what you accept for yourself, the obstacles that you see as obstacles. I think that
mm,
if you treat yourself as an equal, then I mean,
mm.
then you are.
Right, and I think that's such beautiful ideals to have as well. Is this something that you follow in your life as well, when perhaps you're faced with situations which are beyond your control and which are very, very challenging? Is this something that you also follow with Like, you know, is this what you do as well?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I've been brought up in quite a progressive household. There was never a moment where I was made to feel like I would have to do anything different to what a man would have to do. My dad has been extremely supportive and encouraging, and I've seen him, be there for my mom and push my mom and support her. And her dreams became his dreams, and her achievements were his achievements. And I think that even having that kind of relationship to look at and to look up to was just. I've realized now more than ever that it's not normal, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Male
Yeah.
ego is a thing, but yeah, it was really cool, and I'm extremely thankful to have had that as a child.
Definitely. And also, you know, I think one of your next projects is Roohi Afzah, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. I actually spoke with Hardik a couple of months back, and he was very, very, you know, commendable of your performance and your work as an actor in that film as well. So obviously, the film is, I believe, it's a horror comedy, and I think horror and comedy both are very, very difficult genres to do for any actor.
Yeah.
So, what has been your approach in polishing your skills in such styles of cinema for the film? I mean, given the fact that you did Ghost Stories as well recently.
Oh, but Ghost Stories was completely different. It was a completely different tonality as well from Roohi Afzah. Roohi Afzah is actually completely different from anything that I would have ever even thought of. But it was such a liberating experience. You know how I said doing a grey character would. I think this is the closest that I would have come to doing something like that. There's just such a wonderful dichotomy, and I can't speak about it without revealing too much, but it's one of those characters that as an actor you get so riled up and excited about. So yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, that genre, that character especially.
I think because I mean I've read that you're playing a double role in that, so I think that will be very interesting to sort of see.
Oh, it
Because it's
was
a
so
very
much fun. It was too much fun.
I know we enjoy seeing one Janhvi. Imagine seeing two Janhvis. I think it will be double the maza. I think for sure.
I hope so.
And I think in going forward, because you're doing such great work already, you know, you're doing films which are, you know, different. I mean, you've done a biopic, which is, well, not a biopic, but a sort of film which is based on a real character. In a second feature film, you're doing a horror comedy, and then you're obviously doing a comedy with Dostana too as well. What do you think will challenge you next further as an actor? What do you hope to achieve next? What will be your next big goal, do you think?
I think I want to explore comedy more. Comedy where a lot of the comic timing is on my shoulders, where I'm doing, where I have more of the one-liners. Um, yeah, I think comedy is something that I really want to, because I actually think that's tougher than anything else, to be able to crack it and make it seem spontaneous. So definitely comedy.
Mm. And obviously, it must be quite hard as well, right, for you to kind of, I guess, when you, for example, when you're doing such different genres, how difficult is it for you to kind of like step out of, for example, let's say Parthivi and then do Gunjan Saxena or the character that you did for Ghost Stories? How difficult is it for you to kind of get rid of that previous character baggage that you have and then step into the role, into a different world altogether?
So I had a long gap between Parthivi and then getting into Gunjan. But the thing is that I was shooting Gunjan, Ghost Stories, and Roohi Afzah like at the same time, basically. So that was like basically 4 characters with no break in between. But it was, you just thrive off of it. Like for me, it was fun. For me, it was like you're like taking a holiday from Gunjan, and then you're becoming Samira, and then a holiday from Samira, and then you're becoming Ruhi, and then you're becoming Afsa, and then you're. It was just a lot of fun. It was.
Right.
That's what you live and die for as an actor.
Sure.
And I think they're all so different on paper. All of these characters that you can't help but just be different. They all have different body languages, different ways. They're also different. But I mean, there were times where I'd become Ruhi in the cockpit.
Right.
And then I'd like walk like Gunjan when I'm actually supposed to be Samira. But
That's wonderful. I just love that. Such a Janhvi thing to do. I just love that. But I think you know what, Janhvi. I think it was so lovely to speak with you once again. I think the last time we did an interview was actually on the phone. I remember it
Yeah,
was
I
so
remember.
lovely. It was so lovely to kind of speak with you then, and I just love the fact that you're so aware and you know exactly what you want out of life and your career. And I think I just wanted to wish you all the very best for your
Thank you
next projects, and
so
I
much.
can't wait.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Janvi.
Bye. Thank you.